Are you ready for rapid fire?
I'm always ready, baby.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So, got a little more audio. And here is Gino Guidugli talking about Tyler Buchner last night.
Take a backseat to anybody. You know what I mean? Tyler Buchner is going to go out here to compete for the starting quarterback position. He's going to get an opportunity to compete for it, just like the rest of those guys in the room. Like I told him downstairs, I'm coming in with a clean slate. Like, I know what I know of them knowing the offense and understanding the offense by the way I've installed it, the way I've quizzed them, and what they've done so far out in football school. But those guys are all going to be given an opportunity to go out there and execute and compete, and I don't think Tyler's going to take a backseat to anybody.
Tyler Buchner's not going to take a back seat to
Love
anybody.
that.
What do you think, Vince? What's that say to you?
Friggin' love it, dude. Like that. I don't even care if it's lip service. I don't care. At least they're saying it. At least they're saying it, right? I mean, you have to tell Tyler, hey man, this job is up for grabs.
Yeah.
Right? You have to. Otherwise, I mean, he's a competitor. He wants to compete for the job. He sees the writing on the wall. He knows everything that we all know, right? But you've got to say those things. And he said it, Gino Guidugli, to his credit, he said it with conviction. And he said it right out in the open in his first interview at Notre Dame. And so I love it. Whether it comes to fruition or not, I love it. Because you have to keep pushing him, because not only do you want him to push for the starting job, but if and when he doesn't get it, you need him to stick around, because there's still a future for Tyler Buchner at Notre Dame. And so you want him to be here, for the foreseeable future. So saying all the right things, man. Love it.
I agree with that, and I'll answer a couple other questions here in just a second. But I think it's great. And I don't think that it's just lip service. Maybe it's just lip service. He's talking about coming in with a clean slate, but there is a fair response to that. Tommy Guns, he's not coming in with a clean slate if he's talking to Tommy Rees. So he, to an extent, he is sort of muddying the waters when he talks about coming in with a clean slate, but it's clean, at least to the extent that he's not seen either one of these guys on a practice field before. And he's never, worked with them and designed plays for them and tried to figure them out and watch them compete up close and personal. So I guess at least to that extent, but it is, it's a fair counterpoint that he's talking to Tommy Rees about these guys. So it's not a perfectly clean slate by any means.
Sure. I mean, but he's not asking Tommy Rees for the depth chart either. Like there's certain things that you're asking for and you're trying to get information on and all of that. He's not, it's like, oh, that was your depth. That's how you saw it going in. Okay, cool. That's what we're going to do then. Like, that's not what's happening. So yes, is he getting information on the guys? Absolutely. But he's going to form his own opinions as well. I mean, he doesn't know these guys. He's going to come in, he's going to talk to them, he's going to see them, he's going to work them out, he's going to do all those things. And that's what's going to determine who's starting and how it looks.
By the way, I meant to say earlier, like when we heard, I think it was Joe Rudolph talking, you heard like some whistles and some yelling and, kind of stuff in the background. That was inside the Irish Athletic Center, and the soccer team was actually practicing in there last night. So it was not football practice, because they're obviously not practicing it. Soccer team was in there practicing.
The soccer team. Now those soccer players.
But Salty Virginia Peanuts, our old pal, has a question. Why does Lucky Lefty show live clips, but IB doesn't show the video? And by live clips, I assume he means the video. So this is going to be a little bit inside baseball, this explanation. But, the videos that get put, they post the videos, Notre Dame does, up on the website. They do, like, the print/internet media goes upstairs, and like the TV crews, anyone with a camera goes downstairs. And every one of these guys, whether it's the coach or the players, it's got to be a pain in the butt for them. They do 2 media sessions. Mm-hmm. So they typically, like, if you start downstairs in front of the TV cameras, you'll do that for about 15 minutes. And then when you're done with that, you go upstairs and then you go to another spot. And then that's when you talk to, the
radio,
print, that kind of stuff. People without cameras. So you're getting 2 different sets of questions. And since I don't have a camera, I'm not sitting down there, with the TV guys. I'm up, with the print media. Like that's where Irish Breakdown is. Now, Irish Breakdown, like if we wanted to have video, we could have a camera down there and all that stuff.
Sure.
So the long and the short of it is, the questions that either I'm asking or, people around me are asking are all going to be caught on my recorder up, that is not a TV camera.
Mhm.
So like that's part of
And
why, we do it this way. And the other thing is, like for my purposes, when I'm transcribing, doing stories, all this stuff, I've got the audio right in front of me. So it's easier for me just to grab that audio, cover it with the photo, and then play the audio than it is to go back, scroll through, dig through the video and find sometimes the same thing, but sometimes, it's not even there. So like a lot of it is for my ease, but it's,
well, and the other thing is the two guys from Lucky Lefty, they're not local, so they're not getting their own audio. They're
not sitting there doing the process that I'm talking about.
They're getting the video straight from the website, Notre Dame's website. They're getting the video straight from there, and you're only allowed to use X amount of minutes and still be monetized and all of that. You can't use. I think it's like 3 minutes. Does that sound right?
3 minutes of video. Yeah.
3 minutes of video total, and if you're using more than that, you can get in big trouble.
Right.
So I don't know what Lucky Lefty's doing. I love those guys over there, but it's just they're going at it a different way because neither one of them is local.
Right. They're not at the media, doing the media process like we're talking about. They're just whatever, Notre Dame uploads to the website. They're pulling the video and then they're editing the video from there. So it's just a much easier process for me just to pull the audio and do it the way I do.
You're an audio guy. You're a radio guy.
And I mean,
how we roll, man.
Does it matter that much if you're watching the guy talk as opposed to, just hearing his response, like watching his lips move?
I guess. I don't know.
I get it, but come on.
It's the same people like to look at us, I guess, which that's questionable at best anyway.
I mean, if those are your options, there are a lot better places to go. All right, so Virginia Tech grad transfer, Kaleb Smith. He was, this was newcomer night. That's why everyone was out there last night. And so, so he, responded to a lot of different things. He was asked about Joe Rudolph. They were together at Virginia Tech last year in Rudolph's only year as offensive line coach at Virginia Tech, where Smith was a wide receiver. So here's what he had to say, Smith, about Rudolph.
I was talking to him the other day. I mean, he's the guy that I think he had the most respect walking around the Virginia Tech facilities because he was probably the nicest person you would talk to unless you're on a football field. When you're on the football field, he's the real deal, and he commanded respect from the offensive linemen that I've never seen before. And I mean, as an outsider looking into their room, I'm like, man, like he's being pretty tough on them, but I mean, they loved him to death. So I mean, obviously that speaks to the man and the coach he is.
So what do you think about that? What does it say that a guy like Smith, who was not, of course, part of Joe Rudolph's position group, has so many glowing things to say about him?
I think that's great. I mean, I guess it's better than like the canned answer of, well, I was a wide receiver and I didn't have a whole lot of interaction with him.
Exactly. Which is the way that he easily could have gone with that.
Absolutely. And so he went out of his way to speak to specifics. And I think that says a lot because he's right. And anybody that's ever played football before, been around a football team, you have the most interaction, obviously, with your position coach. You don't have a whole lot of interaction with another position's coach, right? And he sounded like he had admiration for the way things were done in that room. And so, and on top of that, he's only there for a year, right? And he was able to instill that and get the respect and all of those things after only 1 year. So pretty impressive, actually. And kudos to Kaleb Smith for realizing that and being able to articulate it in that manner. I mean, he's a wide receiver. People are asking him about an offensive line coach. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. I think it bodes well for Notre Dame. Like any questions that maybe we had about Joe Rudolph. Now we've still got to see him actually obviously go out there and coach the offensive line. But everything that I'm seeing and hearing so far from all these guys. I'm liking so far, and that goes for like what you just said about Kaleb Smith and his ability to articulate, and because I can't imagine like for Smith or for Sam Hartman that the media beats where they were, like the whole process that I just described was like first you do TV and then you go upstairs and you do print media, like all these different. I can't imagine that at either place, Wake Forest or Virginia Tech, their media obligations are anything like what they saw last night here at Notre Dame.
No chance. No chance. I mean, and I know that sounds like an elitist Notre Dame thing to say, but
it's true.
There's no way. There's no way.
Right. Decaf 18, at least Sean's mic is working tonight. New microphone, Decaf, in case you hadn't noticed. I'm glad you like it. I'm still kind of working through, like when I play the audio, for example, like we were talking about the audio, is it really loud to you? Is it about the same?
Louder, but not like crazy.
Okay. I'm working through the whole.
Yeah. You're good. You'll get
controls on this new microphone. So, yeah, hopefully, eventually.
I have faith in you.
All right, fill in the blank, Vince. It's blank that Jim Boeheim is done after 47 years at Syracuse.
Weird. I say weird. When I think of Syracuse and I think of Syracuse basketball, you think of two things, right? You think of Jim Boeheim and you think of the 2-3 zone. And the 2-3 zone is there because of Jim Boeheim.
And they can both be gone now. Yeah.
I mean, it was and the way it went down was really strange.
Bizarre.
Like I heard the audio of him at his press conference post game, and they're like, "Is this going to be your final year?" He's like, "Well, I don't know. Ask the school. Well, do you want to come back?" I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Do you not want to come back? I didn't say that either.
I didn't say that either.
What? And then within like an hour, the school announces that he's retired, or that he's no longer coming back, or whatever. Right? It was just it doesn't feel like a guy who's been there for 47 years the way he should go out.
It felt like it. Yeah. It felt like it definitely could have and should have been handled better from the Syracuse perspective. Just what you're talking about. Like, even Mike Bray in the middle of the season said, okay, I'm stepping down at the end of the season. So he got a send-off to an extent.
Right. Yeah,
like
for sure.
If Syracuse was going to do this, why didn't they just say going into the ACC tournament, let him announce, this is it, no matter what happens, I'm gone. And like to say he's gone, and now they might end up in the NIT, and he's not even going to coach them in the NIT in the final games.
I didn't see that.
All this different stuff. Like, even bigger, a couple different things with Jim Boeheim. I'm a little bit, I don't know, torn is like one of the first things that came to mind is like within a span of 2 years, Jim Boeheim is now done. Mike Krzyzewski is gone. Roy Williams is gone. Like between the three of them, you have what? Like well over 100 years.
Oh yeah.
Pushing 150 years of total coaching experience right there, all gone within a span of
year.
3 seasons. Yeah, like a year from each other, something like that. And then you throw Mike Bray into the mix as well.
He's got 20 plus. I mean,
yeah, because those guys were definitely the long. Even Mike Bray's tenure at Notre Dame obviously was longer than Roy Williams at North Carolina. But if you combine Kansas and North Carolina, because he left Kansas on his own to go to North Carolina. But so you're losing 3 giants in college basketball coaching within a span of a calendar year of each other, basically. But
what does that make Boeheim?
With Boeheim, well,
the court jester.
I don't think we put him in legendary status. Like all 3 of those guys have national champions.
No, you're 100% correct. He does not
himself.
He does not belong in that category at all. But tenure wise, is where we're talking.
Syracuse handled it, as Ted is saying here, very poorly. He was their guy. He'd been there for nearly 5 decades. From the outside looking in, I'm not going to say I'm going to miss Jim Boeheim because like I sitting there, I watched PTI last night with Kornheiser and Wilbon, and they like spoke so glowingly about Jim Boeheim, and they love Jim Boeheim and all this. You and I both know people like this. It's one thing when like how you treat people who can do something for you, like Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon. It's one thing to treat them with great respect. It's another thing to dress down the peon, who's coming through the Syracuse journalism school because he asks you a somewhat tough question. Like when you're just going to crap on the peon, but you're treating the guys up here who are on TV every night with all this respect. That's where I have the problem. With a guy like Jim Boeheim and frankly with a guy like Mike Krzyzewski as well.
He was a curmudgeon at the in the best way.
Right.
I mean, he was. When Notre Dame was in the Big East, they obviously had, a bit of a rivalry there. I mean, and you played Syracuse home and away a lot. And, number one, I hate the fact they play in the giant dome. I think it's stupid. That's not for basketball. Number two, I was never really a big fan of his. I really wasn't. I respected the fact that he could coach the crap out of the zone defense.
Right.
That's not an easy defense to just stay in all the time. And he did a really good job of it. But he's kind of a jerk. I mean, on the sidelines, jerk. In the press conferences, jerk. And as bad as Syracuse handled this whole situation, he didn't handle it any better.
No.
He
still went out being sort of defiant Jim Boeheim for no real reason.
Yes, he kept pushing back on the female reporter, whoever it was.
Right.
He kept pushing back every time she was trying to get him to clarify what he was saying. And he was not helpful in any way.
Yeah. I was never a Jim Boeheim fan. It didn't help that they knocked off Kansas in the tournament a couple of times, but I was never a Boeheim fan even before that. But like where I turned on him a little bit, this has been 15, 16. It's been a while when the whole Jerry McNamara stuff came up in the press conference when, again, this was like turning the screws on the media, but they were kind of putting the screws to one of his guys, Jerry McNamara, and he, went into the whole, we wouldn't have won one bleeping game without Jerry McNamara this year, so my opinion turned on him a little bit with that, but I just was never a fan of how he dealt with, again, more lesser known media types in the press conference settings over the years.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
But I do think that his own school owed him more than, with the way
I absolutely agree with that. Like, and let's say after 47 years of being the head coach and Ted said that he's been there a total of 55 years.
Right. Back to his assistant days and, all that stuff. Yeah.
If you wanted to make a change as a university, you are more than entitled to do that. But give the guy a little bit of respect for keeping him around as long as you did and let him go out, with a little bit of fanfare, regardless of how maybe he handles things behind closed doors or whatever. Like, it was just handled poorly on both sides.
Very poorly. So there's been a lot of talk this week about Aaron Rodgers because there's always talk about Aaron Rodgers, but this talk specifically about going to the Jets. Do you want to see Aaron Rodgers traded to the New York Jets?
Yes. And you want to know why? Because I want to see him dealing with the New York media.
Yes,
all the
exactly.
time.
That's almost all we have to say. That was my response as well.
That's it.
Like, he thinks he's got it bad in Green Bay.
Oh.
I want to see him in that New York media maelstrom. That's what I want to see.
The Green Bay media probably owns shares of the team, right? I mean, that's who we're talking about here, okay? The New York media is going to eat him and his weirdness and his non-answer answers and everything. They're going to eat him alive, and I am there with Terrell Owens and my popcorn. Like, that is I can't wait.
Well, it's just, again, like all this drama, and he loves it. He's sitting back thriving on it right now. Apparently, the Packers said, if Aaron Rodgers tells us that he wants to be traded, we're more than glad to
what does that tell you?
A trade.
What does that tell you too, by the way?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, they owe him a ton of money, and so I'm sure they want to get out from under that. I get that completely. But they're sick and tired of the Aaron Rodgers circus. I mean, he is a future Hall of Famer. I don't think anybody's going to question his talent, right? But all the off the field nonsense the Packers are ready to just be like, yep, we're good. They're
Yeah.
going to get everything they can for him and all of that, obviously. But they're like, hey, you want to be traded? Just let us know where. And we'll start the negotiations.
He's been on a downhill slide since the discount double checks went away. It's like he was at his peak then, and it's just been peak weirdness and drama.
Gosh.
I just think he literally he's just glad everyone's talking about him right
Oh,
now.
absolutely.
He really doesn't care if they pursue a trade. But I completely agree. I want to see that New York media just eat him up. That's what I want to see.
I am praying that he goes to the Jets, because do we really think the Jets are going to be a contender? I mean, they got a great defense. I get it. There's a lot of parts there that people I'm sure like, but it'll get screwed up somehow. And, it's going to be glorious.
They think they're a quarterback away.
Yes, they do.
I'd like to see it. I would like to see it in that division with the Bills and the Dolphins. Speaking of quarterbacks, after Baltimore slapped the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson, none of the other 31 teams in the NFL have inquired about acquiring Jackson. And I know, there's collusion talk and all this different kind of stuff. But I guess my question, plain and simple, would you want Lamar Jackson as your quarterback?
No, I wouldn't. There are too many parallels to the kid who is the quarterback for the Panthers. Number 1,
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton, thank you. I don't know why my brain just is like mush by the end of the day.
Sometimes.
But there's too many parallels there. Top of his game, running quarterback, injury prone towards the end, and just can't get back to the way he used to be. And I just feel like that is where Lamar Jackson is headed. That's the path that he's headed. So do I I have no problem with the Ravens kind of playing some hardball with the money, because they're going to paint themselves in a corner financially if they throw all this money at him, and he's injured all the time, and that's not going to do them any good. And so I have no problem with it whatsoever. And no, I would not. I mean, my team does have a running quarterback, and I have a feeling it's probably going to end up the same way. And so it's not what I like out of my quarterback, and I'm not willing to sink that kind of cash into him.
The problem is, if you're going to take on Lamar Jackson, you've got to rework your whole offense to suit Lamar Jackson's skills. I mean, it begins and ends with that, like you're talking about. He's a running quarterback. It's one thing to be a running quarterback, but your whole everything that you're doing has to be retooled and catered to that one guy. So like everyone else, I realize a lot of the NFL is going more to that style, like we were talking about Anthony Richardson earlier this week, and that's why Anthony Richardson has become popular because of that style of quarterback, and it's Rami, his agent sucks, and it's because he's his own agent. Apparently, he and his mom are the agent, and and I think that has to probably play into this as well. It's like, do you want to deal with Lamar Jackson and his mom rather than an actual? I can't think that helps him. But so I wouldn't, like if I look at my team right now with Dak Prescott, Dak has his issues. He's not a perfect quarterback, but I would still rather have him for what Dallas is trying to do than Lamar Jackson and have him, in the mix, because again, you've got to rework and cater everything around that one specific guy and his skill set. That's basically what John Harbaugh did when he decided he was going with Lamar Jackson. They retooled everything, and it's all built around Lamar Jackson. So I would not want that.
No, me neither. Just the injuries, the whole thing just scares the crap out of me. And he's asking for the best contract that's out there. I mean, and he's asking for Deshaun Watson.
And that's the other thing. That's the other thing, is how much you've got to pay him. Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot to sink into a guy that I'm not guaranteed he's going to be out there to make 17 starts a year, right? Yep. And, now, do I think giving Deshaun Jackson that kind of money was crazy? Yeah. Or Watson, excuse me, with the Browns, right?
Right. Deshaun Watson. Yep.
Craziness. That's crazy that they gave him that kind of a contract. But he's a pocket passer, right? He's not going to have the injury problems that Lamar Jackson has. And so, yes, is he mobile and all? Yeah, of course he's mobile, but he's not going to be running the zone read and all of those different things. So, yeah, there's no way he's going to get that kind of money. There's no way.
Concur. All right, a couple questions, comments here at the end. Chi-Town wanted to know how good the Irish soccer team is. I did not actually watch the soccer team. I just saw them down there and kind of heard them,
I believe last year they made a bit of a run in the NCAAs, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm looking
I think you're right.
for the info here. Here's the schedule. Let's see here. What did they do? They were okay. They weren't as good as I thought. They were 8-7-2 overall. But they lost their first game. Maybe it was the women that did a good job because the men did not.
Yeah, they were. The women were better this week. As soon as I remembered. Yeah.
Okay, so I take it back. The men were not great. The women were much better. They were 17-3-3 were the women. So
right.
Yeah, there you go. So
Decaf wants to know any news on Olivia Miles. There is not. It is all still kind of wait and see on Olivia Miles right now. That's pretty much all we know as they try to again gearing up for Selection Sunday, and it's 3 days away now.
Yeah,
at this point.
Yep. I'm excited to see how they can do.
For sure. And then Jeff says, I've come up with a great comparison for you guys. You're the Channel 4 San Diego Ron Burgundy ND news team. Sean's mic issues, Jesse's whiteboard, Vince's family drama. You bring it to us without the BS.
Thanks, Jeff. I think you might have nailed it. We are not
Marshall. Stay classy, Irish Breakdown.
You guys might have nailed it there. Just saying. You might have nailed it.
I like that.
I do too.
Romlock, man. No, I'm sorry. Wrong one.
There we go.
Sean is big time. Free to watch the soccer team, but refuses. Well, I was in the middle of trying to interview Notre Dame players. So
I love it.
It's like, where should my attention be? It's like Vince barking at his kid off camera while the show is going on. So
yes, I was. Guilty as charged.
That's okay. You got to do what you got to do sometimes. It's like we'd all be better off if your kid was healthy right now.
Yes, because he'd be at track practice. Well, I guess he would be now, but yeah.
That's right.
That's right. We're talking about you.
All right. So we've got the rapid fire show tomorrow at 5:00.
Yes,
Looking
we do.
forward to that.
It's just you and me, right?
It is just you and me.
Okay. All right.
Jesse, it's supposed to be, I guess the snow hasn't quite started. It's supposed to start snowing within the hour.
Yes, it is.
As we're doing this, and it's supposed to snow for about 16 hours. So he's driving over.
2-hour delay.
He'll be driving from Cleveland to South Bend while we're doing the show tomorrow.
Okay. Hey, maybe I'll get the elusive.
Maybe his girlfriend could drive and he could, do the show from his phone or something.
Now you're talking. It's only like 45 minutes to an hour.
Wouldn't be any worse than what Lucky Lefty tried a while back. I don't know if you ever saw that one.
No.
I think Jesse was doing the show with me at that point. But all right. Well, we will have plenty tomorrow. I can't guarantee Romluck any soccer talk or, Irish Chi-Town any soccer talk, but
Romlock, this is my first time I've ever seen you in here.
I think so
you need
too.
To come back, sir.
Yeah, you've got kind of a Derek vibe to you there.
I like it.
Yeah, that's right. Chi-Town says you should grow the Ron Burgundy stash.
My wife might have an issue with that, but I could do it.
Have you ever tried the mustache growth before?
In college, I grew a mustache. And I hate to say it, but I look like a child predator. Like it was not a good look for me at all.
I could see that actually.
It was not a good look. I have a picture. I'll have to show it to you sometime. There's a picture someplace in the unfinished part of the basement, in a box. And every once in a while I come across it and I remember why I don't have a mustache.
Yeah. My wife does not like the goatees. She thinks that they make men look like perverts. So sorry to anyone who has a goatee. But it's my wife, not me.
It's very, very similar.
She made one of my best friends shave his off for our wedding because he was in our wedding. So
really?
It had to be shaved off because of the wedding photos. She didn't want it in the photos. So and he did.
That's funny.
To his credit.
Hey, you don't say no to the bride. Okay,
That's right. That's
not
right.
how that works.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for tonight. Appreciate you joining us tonight. And again, we will be back tomorrow, 5:00 for the Friday Rapid Fire Show. So we will talk to you then on IB Nation Sports Talk.
See you.